Okay, so this is Mental Health in the Garden continued. Really quickly, I just want to wrap up by saying I think it's just super important that the information here is spread to the people that might need it most and that probably aren't watching. There's a good chance if you're already watching this video that you know all of this, that you've experienced these things yourself, that you get the meditation even from something as mundane as pulling weeds or pruning tomatoes. That was one of my big things a few years in the making. Just pruning those tomatoes really got my mind off of things and helped me check in and be sort of transported to a place that felt a lot more tropical and smelled just incredible and gave my mind that rest that it desperately wanted. So if you by any chance know somebody who's not involved already in gardening, who's not visiting neighbors or friends or community farms, CSAs, gardens, botanical gardens on a regular basis, that has the ability to even just put some seeds in a pot, I just can't recommend it enough. It's such a gift, and there are so many people I think that really could benefit from taking on gardening as a new hobby and interest. And will it answer all your questions and fix all your problems? No, probably not. Although it might, who knows? But will it settle your spirit and your soul for a minute or two? Maybe longer if you're lucky. I'd hope so. I think there's a good chance. And it certainly won't hurt. So that's just something I just really wanted to share, and I guess a call to arms, if you will, to, maybe check out that Buzzfeed article. Again, I think it's 15 red flags that are cries for help. And the other nice thing I'll say too about gardening, I could go on, obviously, but I think it's really sorry, again, I'm like so distracted by this activity here. When you have the ability to care for these plants and flowers on a regular basis, if you are that lucky, it gives you something to get out of bed for. I think for a couple of reasons. One, if you have any sort of curiosity in your being, you want to see what happened overnight. You want to see what you're gonna walk out to, what kind of pleasant or unpleasant surprises might greet you. And then maybe more importantly, you are now a caretaker. And I think a lot of people that maybe don't have kids or families would benefit from having that sort of position in their life, to be a caretaker, to be a steward, to be more than just about yourself. Again, when you garden, if you're doing it in a healthy way, you're giving back to the land. You're making the land better than maybe better than you met when you met it. So to have the responsibility, and also I think to have the sense of success and accomplishment when it does go right can be really powerful. You know, I feel so sorry for the kids that no longer get to do wood shop and metal shop and home ec. Kids that don't get a chance to learn these critical and useful skills in school anymore. A lot of them, I feel like, if they're not doing sports, if they're not like a strong academic, you know, if they don't play an instrument, they don't do music or art, what do they have to be sort of proud of? Maybe they're writers. I mean, there's plenty of other things, but I think sometimes there's a hole in a person's, you know, spirit that might only be fixed by being in touch with nature and being in touch with the land. And again, just there are so many benefits. And I am going to wrap this up because I'm pretty sure you're not here for it. I actually don't know why anyone watches my videos, but again, it's so hard to keep my thoughts straight when I'm out here, and that's like such an incredible treat. Again, it's a gift. It's not, and I'm not saying don't go to therapy and don't try other means to work out your issues or whatever it is that you're struggling with. Do that also. Please do that. There are numbers you can call. I think they have the new number now. I forget what it is. I'll put it in the description. If you're really struggling, talk to people. But as another tool to put in that toolbox, you know, before you go do something destructive and harmful to yourself or maybe others, I don't know, check to see if the raccoon ate your tomatoes, or check to see if, you know, what I planted a variety called paint box sunflowers, and this one opened yesterday, and I've never seen one like this before. It is the most dramatic, stunning, like walnut brown with this like gold brushed accent on. I mean, I just, you know, and I've grown sunflowers a couple years now. I've never seen that before. I had no idea it was coming. And then stuff like this. When you grow squash, a lot of times you get these surprises, which are mostly pleasant, where the leaves overtake, or squash or pumpkins that is, the leaves overtake the sort of floating layer above the ground, and beneath the leaves is where all the action happens, but you can't really see that normally because of all of the foliage. So, you know, the same area that you've walked by 100 times the day before, where you didn't notice anything exciting happening, all of a sudden you'll see signs of life. And like this little guy and this little cutie, and look how cute it is. Like, where do you see that in your regular day? If you work in like in an office or something, if you work in a factory, there's nothing cute like that. That's so cute. Being around cute stuff is fun. And I'm just remembering, let's see if there's another surprise. Like, look at these two. You don't see those when you're walking by. Maybe you do. They're just starting to get noticeable. But I do have, or I did, it's been a while, and this has gone nuts overnight here. I can't even really get to it, but I had a squash in here. Autumn, oh, see, see, again, it's not always fun, but that's a squash bug. I had an autumn frost squash back here. Now, where is it? Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay. This is hard with one hand. So, anyway, treat your friends, treat your loved ones, treat your family if you can do this. If you have a piece of property, if you can get a piece of property, if you can get to a piece of property, if you can have access to a television or a computer and you can show them how exciting and how much beauty there is in the world, and also how generous nature is. I think that's really sort of like life affirming. Something like the zinnias or even these gorgeous cosmos that are just like out of control right now. The zinnias are cut and come again, most of them, not all varieties, but the majority of them are. And there are a lot of different varieties of flowers like this. And what that means, if you're unfamiliar, is that when you cut a zinnia, so say I cut this zinnia off here, or this one down here, any of them, when you cut a zinnia and you take the flower off and cut it right down there where the two others are coming out, that encourages the plant to put out more flowers. So the more flowers you cut, the more flowers it gives you. And if there's nothing more beautiful than that, I just, it's to me, it's just a very, very life affirming experience. Same with like growing fruit or basically every vegetable in a garden. You get the apple, you get the seeds, you plant a tree, and then what happens? You get more apples, and it's just the most beautiful show of generosity. And if you're lucky, not much was done. No work was done here, as I like to play around with, because once it's in the ground and once it's sort of stabilized, if there's no sort of natural disasters, you're usually going to be okay. Maybe watering a couple times here or there. Oh my gosh. So this is so exciting. This is another, I don't know if these are just growing like daintier because they're crowded, or if this is a different variety of zinnia. I kind of feel like this is a different variety of zinnia. I said this a couple times, but if you're just watching, I have stones here where I had the specific variety, and that's this Hella Sonneblum. But in between, I was putting sort of whatever I had left over. It was kind of going to be a staggered effect, ideally, because I didn't have enough to fill with the Sonneblum, so I have some painter's box and some others in here. I've tried a number of different dwarf varieties this year, but I don't know what's going on with this. But the fact that, look at that, it's so like delicate. We have like a meaty sunflower here, but this one, it's like the most dainty, prettiest little thing. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up. If you're struggling, get professional help. If they're not helpful, see somebody else. If they're not helpful, keep going. Keep trying to find something that'll help you. And if you can, start gardening. Even if it just means putting a couple seeds in a pot. And if you've not experienced this, I'll say, the other thing that's really neat, especially one of the things I love about zinnias, these like sort of more unique varieties, like this is that Macarenia again. This is the same as this. It's just different stages, and that's the same as that. And this is another Macarenia over here. So to watch this transformation, this like subtle transformation, and every day you wake up and you go out and you see, and it looks so beautiful, and then the next day it looks even more beautiful, and this constant cycle of getting to experience that, and then the generosity of nature again, where you can just save the seeds, assuming that the birds don't get them. The goldfinch do love these, but usually you can save the seeds. You can put a little bag, a little netting over the seeds that you want to save. I want to do that with this one, which is no longer here. This is such a gorgeous one. Tie a little netting around there, and then once it dries, you can take the seeds off. Anyway, it's just, there's a lot more that could be said. A lot more that could be said. But again, my call to go ahead, maybe see if you can talk to like one person that you know doesn't garden, and see if you can plant that seed in them to check it out. And wouldn't that be nice? More gardeners in the world. Definitely not a bad thing. I think everyone could agree on that. So if you've lasted this long, I appreciate you listening. I hope it wasn't a waste of your time, and more of my ramblings and rants and garden surprises later. Happy, healthy gardening.